All right, we're gonna get started. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know, my name is Asia. I'm one of the program managers for COAC Detroit. And if you haven't been to COAC before, attended any of our events, COAC Detroit is a resource hub for nonprofit organizations. We have a lot of resources, both virtually and in person, that nonprofits are allowed to use at no cost to you. Just to give you a little background on the lovely Tatyana today. Um, for those of you who know me, I'm really into going on TikTok. And I know Tatyana mostly from her music on there, but when I was watching one of her lives, I found out that she was the CEO of the Artist Media. And I already knew she did all this amazing stuff with fundraising, especially for people in Congo, Sudan, Haiti. The list goes on. And I just really admired how she utilized social media for fundraising and also storytelling. And I felt that a lot of the nonprofits in Detroit could use some of the information and her expertise. So I'm going to pass it over to Tatyana to introduce herself and share what we're going to be doing today.
Thank you so much for having me, Asia, and the COAC team. I was really excited to hear from Asia because she did pop up in a TikTok live. And funnily enough, my entire team met through TikTok. So most of our partners and collaborators, we meet through the internet. And the internet has changed my life, not only as an organizer, but personally. Mutual aid assistance got me through some really troubling times in my life. And because of that, I decided to commit myself to that work and making mutual aid more accessible to people through social media. So she did a great job of introducing me, but if you're not familiar, my name is Tatyana, aka Yana the artist. I am a musician by trade, but I have been an organizer professionally for the past 5, 6 years, since I was 19. And I started my first nonprofit called High Priestess 19, which was about educating specifically young Black children about mystic arts and like lost religious practices across the African diaspora to unlearn shame and internalized misogyny and a lot of other things. That one didn't last that long because, COVID broke and I was very young and it was my first venture. So that organization was dissolved, but I would then get into social media marketing. I became really enthralled with the psychological aspect of marketing, and I took a bunch of like certifications and courses to figure out why was it that marketing was subconsciously steering the public towards one decision or another while not really being vocalized as being an important factor in societal decision making. Like behind presidential campaigns, there's a marketer. Behind Facebook ads, there's a marketing team. Behind education, like them releasing children's books, there's a marketing team. And I never really heard about that in school, about that being like an important role in society. So that inspired me to go back to school. I'm currently an experimental psychology major. But most of my work preceded me getting to go back to school because I was experiencing a lot of unrest in my personal life. COVID impacted me deeply, and then I did become disabled a few years later. I'm just bouncing back from a car accident. So a lot of it forced me to center my intuition as opposed to what I could learn in school. And it allowed me to create like a lot of my own concepts and methodologies that are accessible to young organizers. And I think that's why they're drawn to my work because I made it in such a way that you can have absolutely nothing and still contribute to your community. So I'm excited to share that work with you guys today. At first, I'll just show you guys like a little slideshow about like what the artist media does, and then we'll turn over to the Alchemy of Fundraising presentation. And if you guys have questions at any point, feel free to ask. Okay, and just let me know if everyone can see that. Okay, and I'll make that full screen. So for the past several months, after I had my incident, I had to kind of change the way that we engage with organizing just to make it more sustainable. I was running at like a really rapid pace because social media encourages that. You post 4 to 7 times a day, you do your hashtags, you post on multiple platforms, a lot of that. And that used to be the way we got things done. It just wasn't sustainable anymore. So we turned over to consulting and multimedia as being like our primary function. And so this is just a little bit about us, but I'll speed through it. We were founded officially in 2023. Our first major campaign was called Abusing Me. We raised more than $44,000 for the Democratic Republic of Congo with a song. We ended up being on the top 10 of the TikTok's viral songs that year, and I was really proud of that. And that was mainly because the youth just thought it was catchy. They wanted to use my song in their videos, and they helped us raise a lot of money. And we replicated the model a few times over for initiatives like Sudan, Haiti, and Palestine. We currently have a campaign going on right now for women's safety, where we're centering like domestic violence survivors and survivors of sexual assault. And then, I talked a little bit about my accident. It made me reframe the work that I was doing, having to make it accessible in a different way. This last year kind of opened me up to how, even as organizers, we work with vulnerable people all the time, but we don't really talk about what happens when we come from those vulnerable, marginalized groups ourselves. Becoming a disabled person, not being able to work at the same rate, but still having a passion for my work. It became very important to me to make sure that everything we do was accessible, and that meant the work itself. And we launched our internship program this last summer that did really well. We have new agents from all across the country who help us with campaigns like this. And now I moved from Florida to Texas, and we're doing in-person events, mutual aid events down here. And that's like a rundown of what has been the last few years, from going from being like an independent organizer to having my own org. And yeah. Oh, that's me and my COO. We met through TikTok. She also helped with making these presentations that you're going to see today. And this is the rest of our team. Amazing young ladies. And our vision here at the Artist Media is to create fantasy filled stories, essentially using fantasy as a vehicle to reinstall hope in organizers. A lot of time, I feel like we have to confront the worst case scenario in our work, whether you're working in a crisis center or a homeless shelter. It's almost the worst case scenario every day, and it could be hard to remain optimistic. And I've noticed that we have our best ideas when we're happy, when we are feeling emotionally settled and our nervous systems are regulated, but there's not a lot of policy in place even for organizations on how we can retain that. How do we keep our sanity? And I found that fantasy keeps that for me. Watching cartoons helps me feel like I'm not an adult all the time. Like I could just kind of be centered in my body. But I also realized a lot of the fantastical content that I consumed had a lot of radical belief systems instilled in them. Avatar the Last Airbender is a big one for me. And then like Naruto, they're all about these kids who just get this idea that I don't want the world to look like this anymore. And I'm going to work on myself until I can impact the world in a great way. And I think a lot of times as we get older, we're supposed to be looking at everything through a practical lens. And I think that's unfortunate. I think we limit ourselves by only thinking about the systems that have already existed as opposed to what we can create. And the easiest thing to create that I found has been art. It's accessible, it's affordable, and almost anyone can do it. So that is our vision, to stimulate more art artists to get into organizing and to funnel their passion into creating solutions in their community. And these are a couple of our projects. I start my tour back up in January of next year. I was able to secure residency at a really cool experimental club that really supports the work that we're doing. And I do think being in music has made it so that a very specific type of person is attracted to us. I like to think of abstract thinkers. When I was going through a different angle of being like, oh, here are the numbers, here are the charts, here are the statistics, I was attracting the type of people who question our creative ideas and who were questioning our capacity to stimulate change with art, even though that was our bread and butter. But now that we've put music at the forefront and art at the forefront, we're attracting all of these eclectics and eccentrics eccentrics and people who are artists themselves, but they do 20 different things so we don't have to over explain ourselves. And I'm noticing that as I'm working with more organizations, everyone who works in there is a jack of all trades. Like even Asia, you're a cosplayer. I found out, which I thought was so cool. I think cosplay is so cool. Like a lot of people who are streamers as well. There's a young lady on my team who went to school for religious studies. She used to be like a youth advisor, like just like a lot of backgrounds that a lot of times in corporate America, which often organizers try to remodel in our spaces, they don't have space for that. They don't have space for variety. But we work in a different space. We don't have to make our stuff look like corporate America. We have the opportunity to build things from scratch. And that's a unique ability to the space that we exist in. And this is just like to show like the music and like a lot of the kids they know me through Spotify and stuff, which it's been funny with kids coming up to me and being like, "Hey, I know you from this," and it's really nice. It kind of encourages you to keep going because if the kids think that you're cool, then I feel like that means you're on the right track in some way. This is something that we'll get to later. It is an idea that our nonprofit sprouted to kind of help platform a lot of the independent artists that we work with, but we'll return to that later. So that's the artist media. That's our mission. That's what we do. And I'll turn it over to what I'll be presenting to you guys today, the Alchemy of Fundraising. I'm really excited to be sharing to you guys the more scientific aspect of art. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I was really glad that Asia and the COAC team were open to this very off take on marketing that I've been trying to get off the ground for quite some time. So now we're going to be talking about the research that went into me developing this methodology. So this is just like I'll just skip past this, trying to be efficient. Okay, so this is an excerpt from my research, and this is based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's essentially a dissertation that I made about how, unfortunately, a lot of modern psychology was rooted in white supremacy. It was rooted in misogyny, and we have not revisited these concepts, even though these concepts are influencing our daily decisions, who you can go to for mental health care, even where you can work. People who work in marketing, a lot of them are psychology majors or minors, and they take classes based on systems like this that position certain needs as below others. And a lot of times when we're talking about needs and wants and desires, we put physiological needs at the forefront, air, water, food, shelter, those type of things. And a lot of us as organizers, that's what we work in. We help get people blankets or we help get baby formula to people. And it's very important work. But what I have noticed is that we can neglect the fact that even the people who are in crisis, they have other needs that are not being met. And oftentimes, people will prioritize their intangible needs over their physiological needs. But that's not taught to us in school. It's almost considered the rational thing to prioritize getting food for your family as opposed to going to see a movie. But if you're in a place in your life where you don't have a lot of optimism, you don't even know if you're going to be able to go to your next shift, or you just got fired from your job, sometimes what you want isn't a burger. Sometimes you want to go listen to music. Sometimes you want to go see movies with your friends. And that's what actually gets you through to the next day. And a lot of modern psychologists, they didn't take this into consideration that even as impoverished people, we still desire luxury in micro doses, whether that's buying makeup at Sephora. Well, even though, Sephora's kind of canceled now, but buying makeup. Sometimes I'll get eyeliner instead of getting groceries. Sometimes that's just what it is. And a lot of poor people, we feel shame about making those choices for ourselves, whether we have a support system or not. Is it rational to expect ourselves to constantly live in misery if we only have our physiological needs met? Because what makes life worth living to a lot of people are those rare doses of luxury, are those rare instances of enjoyment with their friends, and that's what leads to community bonding. So this was just me breaking down how Maslow didn't know what he was talking about, in my opinion, from my research. But unfortunately, a lot of structures, corporate in the corporate world, in the educational system, and even all the way to organizing, we go based off of prioritizing physiological needs when people do tend to prioritize their other needs depending on where they are in their life. So this methodology that I was developing was cross-sectioned with the seven chakras chart. This is from Hinduism. This is a practice that has been around since as long as humans have been around. And I know that most of you guys are pretty familiar, but I studied this chart and I began to realize that there have been practices in the world that preceded modern psychology that completely understood that your physiological needs do not outweigh your spiritual needs. They don't outweigh your desire for fun and tantalization. It's why even when people are broke and homeless, they still go on dates. People want to connect. They still want to enjoy their lives. And these other teachings had that. So I started cross-referencing that and I tried to build a system that could stimulate all of the senses at once as opposed to just meeting the physiological needs. And I do that as well with the marketing of our services or marketing of our fundraisers. I actually want to show you guys another clip from here. This was something that one of my researchers on my team came up with to show that Maslow's hierarchy of needs was actually a ripoff of an indigenous teaching. They reduced it to its bare bones. They took out the intersectionality. They took out things like aesthetic needs because people desire beauty. It's like why people still stop by the home goods store, even when they know they need to get groceries, they'll still pick up candles. Like that's anytime I go on grocery shopping, I'm picking up candles, smell goods, perfume, or something, even if I don't have that much money. And it's because on a psychological level, we still need to stimulate those senses. But oftentimes, impoverished people are shamed from pursuing that. But that in the original teachings before it was ripped off by Maslow, that was acknowledged that we still had the needs for aesthetic beauty and connecting with our community and romance, and that these aren't frivolous things that we're supposed to be saving for at the end of our life when we're already successful. They're supposed to be balanced with all of our other experiences. It's just impoverished people or marginalized people are conditioned to believe we don't deserve good things. So I just wanted to show you guys that, and I'll get back to this part of the presentation. Okay, so this is a little bit more on like the history of the chakras. Hinduism started somewhere between 2300 BC and 1500 BC, so it's very, very, very old teachings. But they're constantly dismissed. They're not taught in the any of the Western schooling systems. But the weird thing about that is it's a lot about self-acceptance and balance before pursuing grander concepts like financial stability. Okay. And now this is another model that I cross-reference in this methodology. It's a comprehensive multi-tiered framework that promotes social, emotional, and behavioral development specifically for young children, but it's honestly applicable to anybody who needs it because at the end of the day, we're all just big kids. We're all somebody's child, and it still works. But it talks about the type of things that are needed to create a balance adolescence so that children don't grow up with one kind of being too much of one thing or the other. And I cross reference this as well. Targeted social emotional supports, high quality supportive environments, which kind of speaks to needing more emotional stimulation than like once again referring back to Maslow's, where emotional stimulation is considered something of a luxury that you're supposed to think of after you've already like received your physiological needs, after you have shelter. But there have been studies like on puppies, like a litter of puppies, and there's one caretaker who feeds the puppies all the time, and there's one caretaker who plays with them. And when they have the choice for themselves of like who they gravitate towards, they always go towards the one that plays with them. Even though, yeah, their physical needs are being met by that caretaker who's feeding them, it doesn't stimulate on it on a level that really carries with you, that you can carry with you. Okay, and this is just, all my citation. And so that brought me to the alchemy of fundraising and learning how to stimulate all of the senses and all of the needs that can often be dismissed as poor people, as impoverished people who are seeking public assistance or social services. So, with the first major campaign that we did at the Artist Media for the Congolese relief groups, I realized that starting off with music, I made a very strong impression on the audience that received it. A lot of people, they're not transparent about this, but unfortunately, the literacy rate in the United States is very low. most people cannot read beyond a third grade level. But a lot of academic material or political content is geared towards people who have at least an associate's degree, who are at least reading at a college level. So a lot of us in the organizing space, we might want to believe that people just don't care about our topics, they don't care about our issues, but they genuinely cannot receive the material because it's written at a level for somebody who's reading at a college level, and most people are reading third grade. But music, you don't have to have a high reading level to understand it. Lyrics can be very simplistic, beats can give you a very specific feeling. A song can make anyone feel what you want them to feel. And a lot of the people who were listening to the song, they were able to understand, like, wow, this is a song about somebody who was in a very vulnerable position. They were subject to intense violence, but they still have empathy for the person that hurt them. That was the premise of the song. And a lot of people were talking about their personal experiences and on their own volition, making the connection between their own experiences with domestic violence and the crisis in Congo of women's violence. And they were like, I did not realize women were having these same experiences in this place because of unrest, political unrest. I did not realize that my life is so similar to the women who are in these transitional facilities in these other countries. And they started developing personal relationships with the people who were on the ground in Congo. And that's when it started picking up like fire. Very similarly to how people got very attached to the first round of journalists out of Palestine, like a lot of the Al Jazeera journalists and even some of the independent ones like Bassan. The what really cemented that connection for a lot of people who before this information became public knowledge were honestly disinterested and affairs in the Middle East or affairs in that part of the world. What changed things for them is being able to see, like, oh, I am just like this girl. Me and her are both 19 years old. Me and her both wanted to go to school for music. Me and her both wanted to do this and being able to connect. Now, by using music as a medium to connect people, it also allowed folks the opportunity to provide financial contributions. And this is when I noticed that shame based organizing versus empowerment based organizing it was starting to have a stark difference in engagement, and the empowerment based organizing that I was participating in was starting to overshadow some of the other techniques that were being used. A lot of marketers try to, especially marketers for fundraising, are like, how could you not care about these people? Like, why don't you see yourselves in them? Why are you so indifferent? You're doing this because you're lazy and apathetic. That can help sometimes. It can get you money. It rarely gets you reoccurring supporters that are willing to contribute meaningful emotional and creative labor. And doing this empowerment based organizing, I essentially, the concept gave birth to a whole new wave of organizers who were like, oh, she did this. She was living in her car. And when she did this the first time, I can do it. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. And then so multiple other artists started making songs to raise money for other causes. They're doing ones for Sudan, they're doing ones for Haiti, they're doing ones for women's violence. Like they were like, oh, like there's nothing stopping me. And a lot of them would reach out to me saying, like, I never even realized that this was something that I could do. And then from there, they went on to make even other projects that I had nothing to do with, but they had created a community of people who were offering creative solutions, accessible solutions, ones that were of no cost to the organizers and of low cost to the community that was contributing to the campaigns. And that was another reason why the campaigns were going viral. Listening to music is free. All they had to do is stream the songs on Spotify. All they had to do is watch the music video on YouTube, comment on the TikTok videos, and it let people feel powerful, if even only for 15 seconds. And it attracted a really a major audience. Now, unfortunately, TikTok would go on to kind of suppress political content, and that forced me to look into different ways to transfer this methodology that was still helpful, but just in a way that we couldn't be silenced anymore. So then we started focusing more on our website and like our internal programs. Before I go any further, does anybody have any questions?
Not a question about the subject, but are you able to make the screen a little bit bigger?
This it's saying it's full screen, but maybe it's only full screen for me. Let me see. Let me try one more second. Saying it's what does it look like on your end?
A galaxy, and then I see you in in the galaxy in the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead and I'll just make it full screen. Fine. Just stop sharing for 1 second and is that better? Is that okay? Thank you. Alrighty. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the reality of where we're standing economically as nonprofits. I In the last year, a lot of our partners and collaborators have been very honest about there being a decline in donations as well as grant accessibility. A lot of government funded programs, they're just not, you can't even reach them. Their applications are closed for the next 2 to 3 years. And that means we have to be very creative in how we approach fundraising and but also delicate in the way that we speak to the audiences that contribute financially because they're also experiencing an economic crisis. So I'll just read this verbatim. So as the economy worsens, humanitarian contribution is shelved on the average person's low priority board, even lower than that of luxury. By the Western understanding of needs, social services and projects do fall within physiological needs. They are still a primary need, but the modern working class person only has the emotional bandwidth to be attuned to their own physiological needs. So they can understand that they are in need of financial support, they are in need of social services, but they are very aware that they are one paycheck from being in the same position as the people that they're donating to. And I notice sometimes when I'm working with younger organizers, they can get a little resentful towards like the same group of people that last year would send them tens of thousands of dollars a year now can only trickle in a couple hundred. And there could be like kind of like contempt there. Like, is it the work we're doing not good enough anymore? Are you not resonating with the content? When the reality is they're just scared. They're scared that that $50 that they used to send every week is going to be the difference between them paying their light bill or not. And instead of overlooking that and saying that this is something that they need to bypass out of solidarity with impoverished people, making it so that they can contribute in different ways that makes them feel secure. And it also helps us turn, well, not a profit because we're nonprofits, but help us get donations on the back end. What we've been allowing our volunteers and our supporters to do is to donate ideas. So they can kind of it's almost like having a town hall, but mini and accessible, where people could just write in things that they want to see us doing, things that they like needs in the community that they know there's a vacancy for, even gigs or services that they know that we do, and like kind of connecting us with new opportunities to crowdfund or platform ourselves. And another thing that we have been doing is allowing them to donate art to us, and so that we can turn them into prints and then sell that artwork to other people. A lot of folks they were able to be full-time artists last year, and this year they can only do that so much. It's not making them the same amount of money. Unfortunately, with the rise of AI, a lot of people in the artistic fields they're taking an economic hit. And what I've also learned from observing the audiences of other nonprofits, including our own, is that most of our support system are the artists. They are the bleeding hearts, the theatrical people. Those are the people who are like in the comment sections and sharing your content and making videos of their own volition on things. It's the people who are in humanities or the arts. And unfortunately, that part of the economy is suffering really badly right now. So allowing them to donate art keeps them connected with the community. It keeps them involved. And so that when they do get the funds, oftentimes they'll just say like, hey, I'm just like 4 more weeks and then I'll feel comfortable sending another donation. And that also kind of encourages our team to know that we have funds coming in and that so we could keep working confidently. And also, I've noticed it builds more of a friend-like relationship with our donors, as opposed to, hand over the money, you take it, and then we never talk again. They know that we care about where they are. And also, by platforming artists, they know that we care about their careers and their ambitions. And we have gotten, we're in the process of making like a lot of collaborations down the road with artists who were kind of going through a slump in the last year, but we intend to collaborate meaningfully with them, whether that's by doing a show together or they're opening for one of the artists on our team or something like that, just so that they know it's reciprocal. So instead of making it so transactional, making it more reciprocal. So, this last paragraph is instead of resenting the public for choosing escapism over activism, it's time we take a closer look at how major brands who deal in non essential sales have positioned themselves in an irregular economy and interpret that model in a way that expands our efforts as nonprofit organizers. And to that, we'll be referring to cognitive behavioral theories and luxury good commercials. Um, we are not getting the same amount of money that we used to get last year, but what I noticed is at that same time, all of the luxury brands were getting more money. People were buying more Teslas, people were buying more BMWs, people were buying more luxury homes. And I was realizing that there's a drastic difference in the way that we market what we do. We kind of tend to position the hardship that our communities are experiencing, and we want people to have an empathetic approach. Like, I relate to that, or I can understand where you're coming from. So I want to give what extra money I have to that. But what I am seeing is that even folks who might prevent themselves from donating, they will still spend their money on a luxury flat iron or getting clothes on TikTok shop. And so we'll be getting into that. I want to show you guys a commercial for the luxury brand. One second. It'll let me fix it out. It's a luxury perfume brand. Wait. Okay, there it goes. And I want to share it with you guys. And let me know if you can hear it properly. And I want to see if you guys can pick up on any of the things that I talked about in this commercial.
Just to let you know, there's no sound.
Excuse me, there's no sound.
Oh, it's you can't hear it? Okay. I apologize. I wonder what that is. Give me 1 second.
If there's sound on your side, I believe there's something in the share settings where you have to say that you want to share sound as well as screen. I don't remember exactly where it is, but I've had a similar problem recently.
Thank you. Okay. I will start that over and let me see. Should work now. Can you hear now?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes, remembering where you started makes you think where you're going and wonder, what if there's another way? Another way to move forward? What if there's another way to breathe? Another way to connect?
How are you? My man, come here. Ages went by. Because you understand, I lie for a living.
What if there's another way to dream? Another way to fail?
I
I'm not going to get this, am I? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, thank you. Another way to create.
So I always go to the club.
What if there's another way to grow? What if there's another way to fly? Create your paradigm. There's always another way. Paradigm. The new refillable fragrance by Prada.
So now after seeing that, would you have expected that to be a perfume ad by the end of it? Yes,
Hello, ladies. Welcome back to this fragrance channel. And today we're
sorry.
discussing Prada Paradox, all 4 of them. I'm going to share with you my thoughts.
It was on autoplay. But yes, I didn't expect that to end off with a perfume commercial. And I was thinking that like, oh, like this is phenomenal. Like this is like kind of really cool, more artsy. Yes, you forgot what it was selling. And it was communicating an experience, like nostalgia, somebody revisiting their old memories, trying to kind of meet their inner child with their current career, accepting rejection, things that are very human, things that are very relatable. But the filmography of it all, like it was filmed beautifully. The color grading was very nice. It like honestly, it could have been a trailer for like a short film, and I think a lot of people would believe that too. And it keeps people's attention. And then the call to action is at the end to, get the fragrance. And then what they're selling is not the fragrance itself, but the experience and the feeling that comes with wearing that fragrance. And that is something that I want to bring into nonprofit organizing is the feeling and the experience that comes with being a donor, that comes with giving. Like detailing what it looks like when somebody does show up to the soup kitchen or when they're volunteering at the food pantry and they're making friends there and then inviting those friends to their Friendsgiving. Like, what does that look like? Or somebody going into dance classes and then realizing that they have an injury. And so when they go to the hospital, they're with other people who have been fighting injuries themselves. And they're like, oh, like I never even like looked into this part of other people's experiences. And to kind of bridge that gap between fantasy and what is a lot of people's reality right now, which is hardship. And though, of course, the people who are experiencing the worst of it are not going to be the ones who can contribute to campaigns like this, but it is going to appeal to what has already been making an impact on upper middle class and the wealthy people who are we could get the largest donations from, as opposed to putting the onus on working class and impoverished people to make up for the donations with whatever they could get. And so that was one example. And I'll go back to the slideshow to show you guys a little bit of how I've been implementing this already and like with very little budget. One second, where are we? Close this down. Okay, there we go. Back here. Are you guys able to see it fine? The presentation. Thank you. Okay. And then so that was a luxury goods example. And then so this is what I was trying to share with that was that we're selling the feeling that comes with giving and selling the future that could exist after embodying a behavioral change, and the behavioral change in this instance being donating. So another concept that we are starting here at the Artist Media and that I would like to see a lot of other orgs implement is how people can be tied into new initiatives through competition. Something that we're getting into is starting like our own branch of like science fairs and art competitions, because for a lot of small like engineers who haven't gone to school yet, like we're talking like later high school, early college, they need things to put on their portfolio. They need competitive experience to kind of get gainful employment in other areas. And that is a like way we are already doing events as nonprofits. We're already doing pop-ups. We're already in these community centers by giving these people the opportunity to platform their art or to share their expertise. We can bring in funds from like, you know, sponsors who will cover the event. They'll help us to cover the cost and then match with the donations, even cover prizes for the people who are in these competitions. A new type of competition that is kind of becoming more popular and that we're getting into is the art competitions. Just one second, Phil, let me. Okay. And it's Solar Punk Art Contest. Excuse me. And so Solar Punk kind of encapsulates what I was saying about trying to have an optimistic approach of what will happen once we accomplish these things. What will happen once we solve poverty? What will happen once we solve the global warming crisis? What does the world look like? And art is a great way to illustrate that. And these solar punk contests bring in artists once again, and it makes them socially proactive around environmentalism. Now, you could have this about anything. You could have it about Afrofuturism. You could have it about like Renaissance kind of art. But solar punk, it works with us because we do a lot of environmentalist efforts. And so by doing these competitions, you bring in the artists and they have an opportunity to platform themselves. And that's also a great thing to sell to potential sponsors and new collaborators, because competition, you can also like stream that on social media. Uh, there's a lot of ways to get engagement from competition, because as humans, for some reason, we're all pretty competitive. And that's been a new thing that we're looking into and that a lot of our partners and stuff are doing. Okay, back to here. Okay. Okay. So here are just some like rundowns of solutions that we presented to our other partners or clients in the past that they found to be fruitful. Before I really honed in on doing nonprofit work, I was working with like a lot of different types of businesses, like beauty, podcasts, things like that. So social efforts, partnering with small businesses and independent retailers to place donation boxes and round up at checkout opportunities. This is something that I know a lot of the big orgs do, like St. Jude's Hospital. They do this, where when you're checking out from a pizza place, you can round up to the next dollar and they get a contribution. I don't see a lot of smaller orgs optimizing this and collaborating with like mom and pops to do the same thing. It would take a few weeks to get it set up, and then you have reoccurring funds on a regular basis. Next is sponsoring or fulfilling vending machines with goods particular to your organization's mission. I don't know if you guys have seen like in the airport, like those vending machines that have like menstrual products or hygiene or even makeup. Those are things that we're getting into, but you would just put the goods that are particular to your initiative. Like if you work with a food pantry, then maybe it's like granola bars from like mom and pops and like really small businesses. So that not, like simultaneously the people who use that vending machine, they could feel good about supporting small businesses, and then you also get a donation. And like there's ways to decorate the vending machines for like to brand it to your organization, so that's like a reoccurring thing. It could even become a staple in your local community. And vending machines, they cost like anywhere from like 1,500, 2,500, and then within 6 to 8 months you can make like 3 times that back. And some of the ideal locations for that are shared office spaces, university libraries, and like high traffic marketplaces. Like if you guys have any of like those outdoor markets, those are good places to have these at. And then now we're going to get into monetizing social media. And these are a lot of opportunities that I've taken advantage of myself. A lot of our clients have, and like, I would like to share with you guys. The first one is probably the easiest one, and it's for Instagram. 501(c)(3) orgs can run social media fundraisers that are automated through Instagram stories and post. It turns up like this plugin, like a pop-up. In the same way, like if you were to add in a link to your website, if people would just click it and they could automatically sync their Apple Pay or their debit card that they have in their phone into the donation like box. And it's really quick. The only con is that it does take up to 3 months to receive funds from Instagram fundraisers, but it's honestly a great way to get more people engaged on your content if they could just, because sometimes people don't want to make the content themselves. Sometimes they don't want to have to be the one to be like, oh, do this, and that. If they could just have a button that they share on their Instagram story, if that person has 10 to 20,000 Instagram followers, that could easily be $1,000 in donations. And next is TikTok. Create your own TikTok shop account to plug any tangible goods your org sells. I know a lot of orgs, we do books, and then other type of merchandise like keychain trinkets and posters. TikTok shop videos go viral all the time, and a lot of orgs have been experiencing suppression over there. And TikTok shop videos are the only things that tend to break through the algorithm these days. So not only does that work with breaking through the algorithm suppression of nonprofits, you also get sales that you could use to fund your org. The next is making content that plugs in your TikTok shop products, like we're going into. And then YouTube, add relevant and ethical ad placements onto your YouTube videos. Most of the nonprofits that I know do not place ads on their videos, and I strongly recommend it, whether it's ads for your own organization or adjacent causes, like, or a partner that you have. Like if your organization has like a sponsor, like let's say you're being sponsored by Whole Foods, and then you would just have the Whole Foods things there, and then you can work out a deal in which you kind of get a commission off of that. There's a lot of ways to make money from AdSense on YouTube. And then also utilizing YouTube Shorts. Most orgs I know are not using YouTube Shorts. It works the same way as Instagram Reels. You can have very few subscribers on your YouTube and post to YouTube Shorts and get a lot of views, which could lead to leads, and then that brings them to your donation platform. Okay. And this is the thing that I've been pushing for a lot of our partners recently is partnering with influencers. Just like the other big brands out there, they know that there's a lot of money in partnering with these influencers with 1 million or honestly even micro influencers with around 20K. If they have a very committed audience, you can get a significant amount of donations and new supporters, new email subscribers, new people who are reading the books that your organization releases. So, onboarding established or passionate social media creators to help amplify your organization's messages is a very important thing, I think, right now. Reach one, teach one kind of thing. And then the influencers have already developed strong relationships with their personal audiences. So, even if your org does not have a great audience yet, collaborating with the right influencers can boost you 20,000 followers overnight. It can be that quick. Back when I was like, before the organization was what it was, and I was just like an influencer, so to speak, I was able to help a lot of orgs do the same thing. Okay. And so this is something about the content you're making itself. A lot of times, specifically like on Instagram and TikTok, I noticed that organizers will post the most traumatic clip that they could find to get people to stop scrolling. And they're like, hey, like, look at this. This is a very awful thing happening. You need to care. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people have developed this way of being able to either scroll past it really fast, like a second sense of like knowing that something really scary is about to pop up, or they'll just like the video, share it, and they won't comment, like they won't engage with it because deep down they don't want to see more traumatic content. So what I encourage is low sensory content. You might hear this a lot like in parenting books and things, to not let kids watch like overstimulating stuff. But the same is true for adults. We can't watch overstimulating stuff all the time. We'll become irritable, we'll become self-absorbed, like we won't want to connect with other people if we're overstimulated. So these are designed to be less overwhelming by using slower pacing, softer lighting, simple narratives, subtle sounds, making it easier for people to process information and learn and wind down. And it's gentler on the nervous system, so they'll start to associate your organization or your platform as a place that they can go to relax. And once again, we don't want to shame people for pursuing escapism. We want them to escape to us. We want to be right where they want to escape to. And then Next is relationship building online. And this is like the most important part of what I've been doing on our platform, utilizing discussion boards. This is this new feature on TikTok that you could go into essentially where you can invite all of your followers onto this bulletin board and you can just give them updates like, hey, we launched this product today, or hey, we just launched this new campaign, or we're going to be in this area. And it gives them like a really low stakes way to keep in contact with you because sometimes the TikTok algorithm will not push up your content. Sometimes people can't find you on Instagram. It just happens. But having these bulletin boards is a direct way to get in contact with your audience without feeling spammy, which some people they have their emails like automated to like sift out organizations, sift out companies. And it's just a good way to break through that. Another good opportunity is Facebook groups. Something that I did in the past when I used to do tarot reading professionally for a living is that I would go in Facebook groups for like wellness and stuff, and I would just be like, "Hey, does anybody need a tarot reading?" And then I would get like 10 people commenting back. So if your organization specializes in any services, I would say going towards spaces for the microcultures that your organization caters to. And when I say microcultures, this refers to like subsections of your audience. So if your overall audience is adults from the age of 21 to 35 who work in arts or entertainment like us, what we found is that the unfortunate instance is that a lot of our audience members had been survivors of domestic violence at one point. That's why they were attracted to like my first several campaigns because they centered women's rights issues within these crisis areas. But then I was like, okay, so what are things that people who are survivors of domestic violence, what is it that they are drawn to? A lot of them are into holistic medicine. A lot of them are into like yoga retreats and things like that, which I'm also into. So that was just like an organic segue in terms of content. And then I started our new series called Pink Psychology, where I just talk about kind of decolonizing our concepts around neurological neurological evidence, our concepts around psychology, our concepts around like science in general, and how so much of it has been to reinforce patriarchy as opposed to learning about the world in its totality. And people are really enjoying that. I'm hopefully it'll let me click the link. I'd like to show you guys the video and I could share it. I'm gonna add it into the so that you guys can take a look at it. But it's a recent video that I did for this series. And this series isn't even posted on our largest platform on TikTok. I made a point of like creating a new page that didn't have as many followers so that I could see how fast we could build a brand new page with these new marketing techniques that we are trying out. Okay, let me add these in here. Okay. And I'm gonna add this link into the chat so you guys could see the video that I'm talking about. And essentially, I was just talking about how, you know, we need to decolonize our concept of what's like right and wrong, and like also science in general. It's just been affected horribly by patriarchy. And it's now sitting at 430,000 views. I posted the video a week and a half ago. And our most viral video on this page that like I started a couple of months ago. It's not an old page. And a lot of people in the comments, you'll see they're asking, like, when is the book dropping? When can I come to one of your speaking engagements? And they're asking me for these opportunities to connect and to donate. I'm not asking them. And I'm finding that it's a lot more organic and it puts a lot less weight on the consumer to like, oh, you need to do the right thing. They're doing what's in their best interest, but fortunately enough for us, I positioned it so that our organization is their best interest. Getting this information, reading these books, looking at my book recommendations, that's in their best interest. Even like booking private one-to-one consultations and things like that, making it in their best interest, and not essentially. I don't sell them anything once. I don't tell them, "Hey, go donate on our page." They're saying it on their own volition, like, "How can I support? How can I do this?" And this has been like our most effective marketing technique right now. You'll see if you look at the video, it's not filmed well. The lighting is bad. I'm in my bonnet. Like I'm not dressed up. There's no frills or anything, and people are still attracted to the content because they know that should they engage, that they're going to receive a reward from that inherently. So that was something that I wanted to share with you guys. I'll go back to this. Okay. Okay. So that was the utilized discussion. And then another thing that I would like to see more orgs implementing in their content is a lot of us do like the information style, like we're educating you, like this happened, and this happened, and this is how you can fix it. What I've noticed is that it leaves very little room for engagement in the comment section. If you give people like 100% of the story, what do they have to add? All they can say is like, oh, like thanks, like, oh, I didn't know that. But when you have open-ended discussions saying like, hey, like, what do you think about this very specific thing and this very specific issue? They get to talking amongst themselves. After a certain point, it's like they don't even care that I'm there or not. They're starting their entire own friendships. People are exchanging phone numbers in the comment section, like, we have to talk about this more. Are you in this area? Like, let's connect. Like, if you guys click on the video that I sent you, if you look through the comment section, it's a bunch of people organizing themselves. I'm not even doing anything, but it's because I ended off the video saying, what do we do now? And then it led to the abstract thinkers, which I mentioned earlier, people who like to navigate in the arts, like specifically the arts, but other fields too, humanities, political science. They are abstract thinkers. They like to come up with creative solutions to stuff. They don't want to do things the same way. They love learning that there's like this new weird way to accomplish a goal that hasn't been talked about before. And a lot of times they will share theirs unprovoked in the comment sections. That leads to the videos doing better, and that leads to more donations, more lead generation to your website or to your link tree. And also, if you guys don't have a link tree, please make a link tree for your org. It's a really great way to organize everything. Like, because sometimes people like websites. Sometimes people just want to be able to donate with like a single click with Apple Pay. Linktree, it helps us a lot. And I know most orgs, we're doing multiple things at once. So Linktree helps organize that. So yes, open-ended discussions, it invites in opinions, and you get more comments and high yield leads as well. And sometimes people volunteer, like in the comments, they're like, hey, I'd like to volunteer. That's been really cool too. Um, and we talked about this a bit earlier with the influencers and working with influencers. But another thing that we've been working with is social media volunteers or virtual volunteers. These are people who work completely remotely. I know a lot of in the last few years, most people went from the office and they went to home, but creating roles that are specific to just what people could do on their phones or their computers can help with a lot of correspondence assistance, and it could also help with content. Like if you and your core team aren't the type of people who like to be up in front of a camera, it's honestly really it's really easy to get college students who like need who just need more experience in social media to start like posting content to your page to like just help you get some videos up. And it's for a good cause, so they're happy to do it. And then, so this is the next session, transmuting crisis into solution-focused content. We talked a little bit about attracting abstract thinkers with these open-ended questions. And the formula that I use for that is personal battles, shared frustration equals to relatable art. Like what I was saying with my song, I talked about my own domestic violence journey. People were able to share theirs, and then they were able to empathize with women in Congo who were experiencing things of that similar nature. And then that led to people using the song relatably, like they were sharing their personal anecdotes while also raising money for the cause. And then we talked a little bit about microcultures. Once again, this is niche interest-based groups within your audience. So like if you are environmentalism, a niche group in your audience might be upcyclers, like people who go to thrift shopping and they like to reinvent clothes. So you could start like a little fashion series on your TikTok page instead of talking about the crisis or the community work that you do outright, because that could be a little bit, it could bog people down, unfortunately. And once again, they're looking for escapism. Appealing to that nature of them, like, oh, I love fashion, I love the planet, combining those things, it can be really helpful. And if any of you guys need help with that, just like message me. It's one of my favorite things to do is to kind of create new content formats. And then last point here is investing in media and positioning your organization's social media as a reliable source of news for the communities that you serve. This is something that we do on our primary page. We essentially do urgent news updates pertaining to violence against women and children. So these are like stories that aren't being really taken seriously. There's been a few times where we've picked up stories that are quite small, like I mean, like only like being talked about on Facebook. And after we posted our video, then major news outlets felt like they were being pushed. Like, why aren't you talking about this too? Like, this small little org over here is talking about this. There was this unfortunate case of a little girl. She was sexually assaulted. It was really damaging to both her and her family. And we helped to amplify that, share the GoFundMe, and that video went viral. We also got donations on our page for our domestic violence work. And then also she got thousands of dollars in donations. So we were able to help somebody else. And it also helped position us as like, hey, we are a resource for this exact type of thing. Educating children on bodily safety or self-defense stuff too, self-defense and things like that. And I can add this into I think this is the last slide. And if you guys want to take a look at what that looks like. But essentially, our urgent news series is our most consistently viral series on our primary page. And yeah, it does really well. It makes people curious about the other things that we have to do. They go over to our website to see if there's a written article. So if you guys have like a team of writers, writing articles, essentially positioning yourself as a news outlet, as an org is like the most organic thing that you could do because no one knows more about your community than you do. Like you're the one who can alert people on the opportunities for change in the community. There's this event that's happening. There's going to be this walk for change, or there's this, like, there's just so many things, ways that you could play with that. And you also get to position your organization's effort as a urgent priority. Like, instead of waiting for other news outlets to like give you a page or do an article on you, you position yourself. And that's helped us a lot. It's helped us get interviews with major news outlets, which can sometimes be far and few between. One second, I'm going to add this video into the chat. That is, I believe that's one of our urgent news videos. And yeah, I'll let you guys take a look at that. And my laptop's about to die. Let me put this on the charger. Just one moment. Okay, you guys are able to see. And then this brings me to the last couple slides in the presentation. So we talked about the source of news. That's the thing. If there was anything in here that I would encourage everyone to do is to start the TikTok shop and to start being like positioning yourself as a reliable source of news. It's consistent engagement, and it's like a guaranteed viral video, even if you don't have a high following count. So that honestly concludes the presentation. These are just some resources that we have here at the Artist Media to assist. We are building our own streaming platform because we work with we've encouraged a lot of the orgs that we work with to create small films like the perfume commercial that I showed you, things that are more artsy, things that are a bit more abstract to stimulate their abstract viewers and their abstract donors to like start contributing in different ways. We're starting our own streaming platform where people could listen to music that donates to different charities or watch movies that contribute to different charities. And if you guys would like to be a part of that, or you know of any like small filmmakers who would like to be a part of that, please let me know. We want this to be like a collaborative effort because I like that you share your resources so followers, viewers can fact check the information you share. That's a great practice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, my teachers kind of instilled that one into me. So I guess that's more credit to them, but thank you so much. But yeah, So that we have the Ethos platform. If any of you guys would like to be a part of it, getting your own stories out there. Something that we're veering into is animation because everybody loves animation. Know anyone who doesn't, but we're veering into animation. We're collaborating with a Haitian animator. She does like cyberpunk futuristic Afro real. It's really cool, and we're excited to start on that project. But then we have other ones. This is a concept that I talked about with the COAC team. One of the girls on my team, her name is Z. She's the one who got me to come down here to Texas. We're living in a border town, and you know what ICE is doing. It's really dangerous times. She came up with this concept for a show called Neighborhood Watch, which is essentially about a mother in like her 50s who loses her daughter to violence amidst the border, and she starts like a neighborhood watch team of like old ladies who just like keep the kids safe, and they like get them out of trouble, and like it's gonna be it's gonna be action based, but it's also gonna be really heartwarming to like because there's no reason that those type of groups aren't existing anymore. When I was growing up, there used to be neighborhood watch teams, and for some reason, they don't exist anymore. But we know through media, through movies, through TV shows, a lot of times it sparks inspiration in people who are consuming it. All of my best work, I got the idea either from a dream or from watching a cool show, and I just want to be a part of that process. So if you guys would like to be a part of that, I put like my socials, I have it dropped in the chat, and you can reach out to me through my email. I think it's in here too. I'll drop it down. I'll have that here for you guys. And I also know that some people they like the flyer that I had made. One of the things that we do at the Artist Media is like graphic design. And if you guys need any help with that, me and several of our team members are all artists of some kind. So yeah, there's that too. So there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate, and we really just try to help how we can. We do like advisory work, creative assistance, creative direction. We have some filmmakers on our team if you guys wanted help with that kind of thing. And also, we have influencers like streamers on the team. My biggest thing is I'm TikTok, but we also have a girl on the team who does Twitch, and that's like Twitch is the future. That wasn't my wheelhouse, so that wasn't a part of the presentation, but I would be happy to sit you guys in a meeting with our Twitch streamer, and she could tell you all about it because that's like, yeah, it's like the future. All of the kids are on Twitch. Twitch streamers are getting like thousands of dollars in gifts is what they call it. It's like gifts, but you can use that gift as a donation for your organization. And it's just about kind of pivoting with the times. And there's probably going to be a new app by the end of next year that we all have to transfer to because people are bored of TikTok, just like they got bored of Facebook, just like they're getting bored of Instagram. And we just got to be on top of that. And what I've learned is, well, I was a kid when TikTok was coming up, so that got to be my platform, but I'm learning Twitch from the ones who are younger than me, and I'm sure I'll be learning about the new apps from the kids who are in school, high school now, and like just bringing in youthful people onto your team as like advisors. I have two little sisters. One's in high school, the other one's in middle school, and I ask them for advice all of the time because I might be considered like a professional in this field, but they're the ones who knows like what's gonna happen next, like what's gonna break next. So talking to the youth in your community about solutions that they could see is something that I think is really helpful. Not only does it empower them to be a part of the change and maybe encourages them to be organizers one day too, it also helps you get ahead of the trends, which is really great for donations. I'm just going to make sure there's nothing left in the presentation that I forgot to say. We talked about Ethos, and that's the app that we're starting. And then also, yeah, those are our services. And yeah, you could contact us anywhere. TikTok, I respond. Instagram, I respond. But email is probably the best way to find me. That's why I dropped it there. I'm really quick with my emails. But thank you guys so much for your time and attention today. I hope that you guys are able to take what I said and repurpose it for your organization and stimulate change in your community. And if you guys have any follow-up questions, just email me and I'll be happy to answer. And if you need any support with implementing these ideas, my team would be happy to help.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tatyana. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you everybody for joining us. As Tatyana said, if you have any questions for her, please reach out to her email. Just to plug in COACT, please check out our website for any resources. And if you're in the area, please check out our Drop in Workday. Tatyana, I know you're in Texas, but if you want to come visit us, we would love to see you at a Drop in Workday. We're going to be starting them back up in February.
February, you know what? I can schedule a vacation in February. Okay. I would love to see you guys. Thank you so much again for
No
having me.
problem. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Yes, dress warmly
Bye.
to come in February.
Okay.